On the back of it, it says that this movie is set in a supernatural world where the characters are in some sort of walking coma, not quite alive and not quite dead, somewhere unidentifiably in between. Now, that's true. It's like their characters are in a coma and their souls are caught in a sort of different realm of consciousness. Hell on earth, if you will. Kind of like in limbo. Reeker basically used to be called the Death Valley Drifter, which was a serial killer, basically. He killed innocent and guilty alike. It didn't really matter. He was finally caught by a cop. Basically, caught by a cop. And he gives himself up and is like, yeah, I killed all these people, but I was told to do it. And now I have to continue to do it in the afterworld. And I'm fine with that. That's my job. They don't find him insane or anything. They think he's absolutely lying, so they just execute him. And about a few decades later, the cop who found him, or got him, became the sheriff. He grows up to have a kid that he had completely shut out of his life. He comes back to Death Valley, where their little town is, where he's the sheriff. And he's going to take over his dad's job and become the next sheriff. So it's the sheriff's last day. He's there with his son. He's in a local cafe, yada yada blah blah. In come these thieves. There's two of them that are fine, and one of their accessories is basically dying. And they try to get one of the ladies that work at the cafe, who is one of the robber's girlfriends, or ex-girlfriends. They try to get her to accept their hurt buddy and so they can leave, and to have her call the ambulance for him to help him, but they don't want to stop because they want to take the money and run. There's another lady there at the cafe, and that's about it so far as characters. There's not too many people. Basically what happens is the sheriff and his son, they find out that the people on the news for robbing the casino are there at the cafe. They try to ambush them. It doesn't work. An explosion happens, and they're all, sort of caught in this, you're going to be my hostage, I'm running away sort of situation. But for some odd reason, the sheriff isn't getting anyone on his CB. No one's coming through. They want backup. They need an ambulance. A whole bunch of funness. And then you start realizing things are going wrong. There was some sort of a earthquake sort of situation, and they kind of don't think anything of it, but then they start seeing things and smelling things and hearing things, and all of a sudden there's a situation where they see people out in the middle of the desert who shouldn't be there. And they're seeing cops that don't see them, and they're hearing things on the radio that insinuate that they're there at the site, but they can't see them. Things like that. So it ends up being more like a sci-fi than a horror. Okay, fine. I can deal with that. My husband thought it was a little fishy and didn't really like it because of that. But I like it. And the serial killer from the beginning of the movie is in this other world. And he is made as his job to kill the souls that are in this world. Because apparently their characters, the souls of these characters are, have cheated death, have supposed to have died and didn't. And he has to kill them. So that is a very interesting plot. So it's interesting. But by the end of the movie, there's so much has happened, and when you watch sci-fi movies, you try and match things up with the events, with what has happened in what location, with wounds. Certain things have to match up between both worlds, and they just don't sometimes. Most of it does, but some of it doesn't. And that's the only irritating thing that I have with this movie, is that they don't make their own set of rules that make sense, and they don't stick to these rules. Now, I like sci-fis. I liked the lighting in this, the acting, the writing, the directing, the special effects. But they needed to think about a clear set of rules. I'm only going to ruin it a little bit by saying that the sheriff gets shot at one point and he dies in a certain location. in this middle world, he gets caught by him, put on a table, and is killed in a certain way where the wounds will match up from that world to the real world. But the location of where he died doesn't match up at all. Everyone else's does, but his doesn't. So for some odd reason, it doesn't match up. Why they chose him to be the only one to die in a certain location in this world and a certain location in the real world and not have it match up, I don't know. But for it to be realistic and for me to actually watch it as a movie, as if watch it in suspended disbelief, as if it's okay, it's real, right? I can't believe that because they don't even make their own rules, and if they did, they didn't follow them. So it's an okay movie. It's in the new releases right now, as far as I know. At least it was in my store, so I guess check it out. It's pretty good.